Coming up next on The Voice of Alabama Politics, Bingo Bob and Casino Jack. Also, the B team takes a look at the Swampers supporting Strange. And there's a new movie about the Ethics Commission.
Gee, you look swell.
Hey, cut that out!
Whoa! Now look what you did. Those are expensive.
Spank that bottom. Yeah, spank that bottom. All this and much, much more coming up next on The V. Welcome to The Voice of Alabama Politics, where we tackle the tough issues so you have the hard facts. I'm your host, Bill Britt, and as always, I'm joined by the V team. Welcome.
Hi.
How's everybody?
Josh, good to have you here.
Yeah, good to be here.
Yeah.
Finally got called back. Did I say something last time?
I don't know. You know, you made 90-some thousand people either happy or mad earlier this week. I'm not sure.
I like to think they were all happy.
They were all happy. What do you think, Jack?
Yeah, sure.
Either that or they were doing this with their mouse.
Probably
Well, anyway, glad to have you on.
Thank you.
Always interesting to have you here. I don't mean anything
Yeah,
by
well,
that.
the off-air stuff gets funny.
Okay. All right. Well, Jack, this week, President Donald Trump tweeted several times, but one time he tweeted and said that he fully endorsed Luther Strange, a guy that he couldn't pick out of a lineup.
Well, I'm all for Donald Trump, but people in Alabama don't respond to being told how to vote. In time in memoriam, we've had governors who've endorsed people in special elections, and they tend to lose. I don't think it helps Luther that much that the president endorsed him. I think people in Alabama are going to say, well, Mr. President, we'll agree to disagree on this one, and I'm one of those folks.
Well, and Susan, what's your take on that?
Well, I mean, Women for Trump have come out and endorsed Roy Moore.
No, Mo Brooks.
No, Mo Brooks, I'm sorry. I'm like with Jack. I don't think it does much. I think my favorite tweet this week was when Dick Brubaker said that Trump knows Alabama about like a pig knows about Sunday. I thought that was pretty appropriate.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Josh, you have to look at this. Chuck Norris has introduced Roy Moore, and now Phil Robertson from the Duck Dynasty. I mean, really, you think a tweet from the president's going to move the needle?
Yeah, I'm waiting on Monday for the Jesus endorsement of Roy. But I just
thought that had already been done.
Oh yeah. I just don't. I don't think I agree with y'all. I don't think that Donald Trump's endorsement of somebody at this point in this race makes a whole lot of difference. I think that even the people who are hardline Donald Trump supporters, God bless them, at this point understand that he doesn't know politics, nationally, much less locally here. And I just can't imagine that it moves it that much. Either you've made up your mind on Luther Strange and those guys, or you haven't at this point. And Donald Trump saying, I fully endorse him because he's done a great job. Yeah, that time I saw him shake Jeff Sessions' hand. Yeah, he's done a bang-up job there,
That's
Luther.
probably the
Attaboy.
highlight of Luther's career.
Yes.
Well, everybody on that Republican ticket is going to go up to Washington. Any of them that were to get elected, they're going to be with Trump 95% of the time.
That's right.
And everybody knows that.
That's right.
So I don't really think it makes that much difference.
No, it doesn't. I just think it's for me, it's so unusual for a president to get involved in a Republican primary of any nature. But this is really the swamp creatures from D.C. It's Mitch McConnell that sets it.
Well, what's interesting is all the millions that have been spent to trash other candidates. First of all, the Luther folks or the super PAC trashed Mo because they want to keep him out of the runoff. Now they're trashing Roy Moore to keep him from winning without a runoff. But I don't think we respond to that. And the thing is, it hadn't moved Luther's needle very far at all, these ads.
The latest poll coming out of Signal with data coming from L2 has the race pretty much like many folks think it is. It's like 31 Roy Moore, 23 Luther Strange, and 18 Mo Brooks. I mean, that sounds about right. I'm not sure if it's 100%, but what are you thinking, Susan?
I'm thinking, and this is after the Trump tweet, so that really didn't move Luther's needle very much. I think they said it moved it maybe 4 or 5 points.
Well, if it did, he was really in the hole.
Yeah, and this is after that, so.
But you still have to wait several days for that to really register. But I still don't think.
But the more people are not going to move, I don't think, because they've been loyal to Roy Moore all these years. All of a sudden, if Trump says, he wants Strange, I don't think they're going to listen to that.
No, I mean, they walk to their own messenger. I mean,
You think?
Yeah, I think so.
Yes. If you've ever been to a Roy Moore rally, they walk to their own messenger. Yes.
Well, I know Brandon's, he goes to all these different deals, and he said, he went to one for Mo Brooks, and they had about, 40, 45, 50 people. He went one to Luther Strange, they had about 4 or 5 people. He said he went to one for Roy Moore. He said they had to open up the darn ballroom because there were so many people there.
It's like a tent revival. Yeah. I mean, really, you expect the people to break out the snakes at any point. I mean, it is really like a tent revival.
What are we going to do with him?
Oh, it's already been done, I'm afraid.
Well, speaking about breaking out the snakes.
Oh, yeah.
Billy Canary. I won't say yellow rat anything. But Billy Canary this week got a startling phone call when he was told that Alabama Power was pulling out of the BCA Governmental Affairs Conference in Point Clear that should be wrapping up this Sunday. And I tell you, Jack, when BCA hears news that Alabama Power is kind of done with you, and then we know Richard Shelby is done with Billy Canary, what else is Billy Canary hanging on to?
Well, the Alabama Power Company has always been the cornerstone of the Business Council of Alabama. They even had a helipad on top of their building so that Elmer Harris could land there for meetings. We know that, and they have been their biggest funder, supporter.
Yep.
For them to pull out is indicative to me that they've had enough of the current leadership.
I mean, Susan, somebody asked me, was this a one-off or is this something else?
I think this is a very strong warning to BCA. I mean, they're not only pulling the funding that they provide, which I think is about 1/3 of what it costs, they're also, none of their people are going to be there. I mean, it's an all-out blackball complete.
I mean, Josh, you got Richard Shelby, you got Alabama Power.
Yep.
I mean, how does he hang on? He's got a board.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just, I guess, kind of indicative of people only taking that kind of authoritative push from people for so long. And I think that once you started trying to force people to vote certain ways, there's only so long large groups of people are going to take that, and as they started to branch off and people started to see that as those guys branched off of this, there was really no payback or there was really no effective payback, well, then others said, hey, wait a minute, I can vote the way I want to as well. And you saw it in the last session. They got nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, they got blanked. And so now that becomes an issue of leadership.
A BCA contribution to your campaign in 2018 is not going to help you, especially when your opponent brings up the autism bill and the
That's
fact
right.
that BCA fought it tooth and nail.
And the fact that that basically Billy Canary, if it had been a federal case, would have been an unindicted co-conspirator. So I'm surprised he's made it this long. But there's a lot of weak folks. Alabama coming after you, and Richard Shelby coming after you. It's time to head back to Queens or Brooklyn or wherever he came from. Anyway, we're going to have to leave it right there. You're watching The V, the voice of Alabama politics. We'll be right back with more news and analysis.
I'm John Merrill. As your Secretary of State, I want to remind you to vote on August the 15th. And don't forget to bring your government-issued photo ID. You can make a difference. We'll see you at the polls.
I'm Roy Moore, and I approve this message. The same Washington insiders who don't like President Trump are trying to stop our campaign. They just don't like conservatives like us. They call us warmongers for wanting to rebuild the military, racists for securing our borders, bigots for recognizing the sanctity of marriage, and they call us foolish for believing in God. They're afraid I'm going to take our Alabama values to Washington, and I can't wait.
Welcome back to the voice of Alabama politics. Josh, you know, we did a 3-part series on Dr. Stuart Tankersley. He's finishing up 5 years on the Ethics Commission. I know you pointed out some things about what he said and why it was important. He has been taking a lot of heat for having come out and told the truth.
Yeah. Isn't that always amazing how people get so angry at somebody else for telling the truth or telling these secrets, you know, that they have supposedly kept behind closed doors from a public entity that's supposed to have no secrets and that's supposed to be exposing everybody else's secrets here, you know? And he comes out and says, this is what's happening back here in the background, and I don't think some of it is right. And now they're mad at him.
Hey, listen, the three of us were sitting in the meeting when Fielding asked White if he had anything to say. We all three heard it.
Yeah.
And looked at each other and went, his name's not on the agenda.
And what's happened is, Jack, that, all right, so Tankersley came out and said basically they were colluding, they were working with lobbyists, they were having ex parte meetings, and you know, there's all kinds of shenanigans. And now Mark White, who said that, no, he didn't register to speak at that conference, but his partner did, so he didn't have anything to do with it. It was his partner.
Would anyone be surprised that Mark White didn't tell the truth?
Just
come on. And that ethics commission is like the State Board of Education, everything else. The state animal in Alabama ought to be the sheep because they're trying to pull the wool over everybody's eyes.
Wow.
And the voters just sit back and we're not told. We're not told anything. The mainstream media won't cover it because they're scared too. But or so much of it, they don't know where to start. This ethics commission is a joke.
Well, Mark White sent a letter to the Ethics Commission addressed to Tankersley, threatening a lawsuit for defamation. But the most it's not surprising. Mark White's a bully. I mean, he likes to bully. That's what he does. But surprisingly, Judge Jerry Fielding, the chairman of the commission, also sent Tankersley a letter and said he had to retract his statement or he was going to sue him for defamation.
You know, you have these guys doing this, right? You have all this hoopla over Tankersley telling these things that's gone on and gone wrong. There was not a peep from anybody when one of the commissioners there said, well, we don't have to follow the ethics laws. Follow the ethics laws? Us? No, we're okay.
And then went ahead and voted
with the conflict
of interest.
We're talking about Charlie Price.
He was doing just that.
He's a judge. I mean, what are we talking about here? I mean, shut up.
I mean, I'm with Jack. I mean, and then Tom Altenbritton, who Tankersley praised and we all thought was doing a pretty good job. He's like backed up. It's like, man, this is too much.
Look, the problem in Alabama is all these boards and commissions are made up of former lawmakers who, when they couldn't steal when they're in office, are trying to figure a way to steal on a commission or a board. Why don't we put some ordinary people on there? I mean, people that are tuned into what's going on, citizens. Like Tankersley, he's an honorable guy.
A general. A medical doctor, a devout Christian, a public servant. I mean, the guy's almost untouchable.
Yeah, and you know it when you hear somebody's name mentioned. You think, oh, that'd be a good guy for that board. And then when you hear other people's names, you go, ooh, no, And we know that that's what that board is filled with at this point. Are the guys in the second category.
Well, they wanted to get Dick Brubaker on there, but they wanted him to come on now. And look, Dick Brubaker would be great.
He'd be good. Yeah,
we
absolutely.
would love
Yeah.
I think his head would blow off of his head because he would not be able to stand what he was seeing around him.
No.
He might,
that's what's good about
he
him.
might take one of those $65,000 Kias and run somebody down.
Yeah. He's right though. His head would explode. He
wouldn't be able to stand it.
He wouldn't be able to stand it because he's a good dude.
Yeah,
he's a good guy that wants to do the right thing and help people.
Isn't that what we need?
Yeah.
Isn't that exactly what we need? Is somebody who is going to lose their mind if things are going wrong in these commissions?
You want to get Dick's back up. He'll tell you how it is. I can tell you that. I want to move on here. The Board of Education, Josh, one of your favorite entities in the state. They did not bounce Pouncey. Not sentence. They bounced Pouncey.
Yeah, they did bounce Pouncey very hard.
They did not split an infinitive over sentence. Okay, so what happened?
Well, we're going to have to continue spelling sentence the wrong way, it seems. There was a lot of back and forth over the last couple of weeks. When they adjourned last time after the evaluations that were very, very poor for him, it was pretty clear that they had intentions to remove him. And then over the last few weeks, as it typically does, those sorts of things kind of soften as he made an effort to kind of reconcile some of the differences between him and some of those board members. And I think that really kind of stuck. And today he fell on the sword. Thursday. He fell on the sword and kind of said, listen, I've made mistakes. There are things that I can certainly work on. There are things that need to be better from my end, and I pledge to you that I'm going to do that. And it's hard to fire a guy after he says that. I mean, it really is, especially a year into a contract. And if he's going to do that and he's going to make it better, I think everybody kind of universally is like, okay, give it a shot.
Yeah, as long as he doesn't coaches show up in a strip club and spend the money.
Exactly. He's only got a year left on the contract, and so at that point, then you can make a decision.
Well, with 40 years of bad education, one more year, Jack.
Well, it's not going to matter, is it?
No, not that much.
I'm all for giving sentence a chance.
That's fine.
Now, I've talked to 2 board members who have differing opinions of him, and my theory is he's been there a year, give him another year, and if he doesn't show results, then let him go.
Well, one more year of him messing up my autocorrect, and I'm done with this guy. I tell you
that drives me insane.
But I want to move on. We got this, the Democratic race for U.S. Senate. We have a guy that is named Robert. We think it's Robert K. Kennedy. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. And he is polling at 50%. Susan, he's a black man from South Alabama. By all accounts, a very nice guy. But he is not Robert Kennedy Jr. that we think he is.
No, he's not. And I think and everybody pretty much thinks that it is the name recognition that's getting him this high in the polls. I mean, he really doesn't have that much background in this. But yet these astounding numbers keep coming out.
Can you say low information voters, Jack?
Y'all are really screwing this up for him, okay? Stop messing around with Robert Kennedy Jr. here.
Well, let me tell you, if the Republicans keep self-destructing, this may be another James Field in the making.
Really? It's a movie. This is literally a movie made with Eddie Murphy, the Distinguished Gentleman. Seriously, this is how he won. This is so crazy.
But we wish Robert F. Kennedy Jr. all the luck in the world. He ain't that Robert Kennedy Jr.
Do you know that?
Well, I'm pretty sure.
He wouldn't be polling at 50% if he was.
Well, maybe in the Democrat side. Jack, you always have a way of just saying that glass is not only half empty, it's dirty and cracked.
No, I don't even have a glass.
We're going to have to leave it right there. You're watching The V, the voice of Alabama politics. We'll be right back.
August the 15th is a very important day in the history of Alabama. On that Tuesday, we'll begin the process to determine our next United States Senator who will represent us in Washington, D.C. I'm John Merrill. As your Secretary of State, I want to encourage you to vote on August the 15th. And don't forget to bring your government-issued photo ID. You can make a difference. We'll see you at the polls.
Welcome back to the voice of Alabama politics. Susan, on Thursday, Senator Marsh, the president pro tem, head of the Senate, announced that he would be running again for his Senate seat out of Anniston. However, all along, the plan has been that he was not going to be pro tem and that Greg Reed would be pro tem. So what happens now that Senator Marsh is going to run again? Is he going to give up that position, that power, or what do you think he's going to do?
Well, two things can play out here. Either he can tell Greg Reed that he needs to wait another 4 years, that he's going to be pro tem and run for that, or he can go ahead and let Greg Reed assume the position and then get him to appoint Marsh to rules. Now, that not only works because Marsh gave him the position, groomed him, thank you. Groomed him for that position, but also because Greg Reed works for Del Marsh in the private sector.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that'll have any bearing, but it could.
Could they run against each other for pro
Yeah,
tem?
of course they could.
So we could have a spirited race,
Yeah.
perhaps.
We could. I bet when she said assume the position, I thought she was going somewhere else.
Well, no. Yeah. Well, and the thing is, this might tell you that KIV, he's gotten word, because Del wanted to run for governor, he's gotten word that she's going to run, because he did say, I won't run against her.
Right, and a lot of people are saying that kind of what they think that signals.
Well, you know, Lowell Barron, when he decided to run but not be pro tem anymore, he took over the rules position, and I mean, he ran the joint because nothing got out of the basket that he didn't want, and you had to deal with Lowell to get it done. So, I mean, it's a smart move if he does it that way. Governor's race, you know, we don't know if Kay Ivey is going to run or not. Our people told us this week she hadn't made up her mind, but she's doing all the right things, Josh.
Yeah, she's doing a lot of the right things. However, I mean, and I don't know how much difference it would make for her right now, but she is way behind in a lot of these, because there's a lot of money that has been raised by some folks. And I mean, obviously she can raise money. I know, you know, there's no doubt about that, and she'll have the backing of some powerful people. But I mean, those guys, the guy from Huntsville,
Tommy Battle. What's he got?
You know, he is killing it.
Yeah, he's got 648,395 right now, followed by Twinkle Kavanaugh's got 582,000.
All from herself.
Yeah, I was going to let you say that.
All from herself.
Yeah, and then Bill Hightower has a 467,000 that he's
Jack,
raised.
that's strong, right?
It's pretty strong for
we're just
this
2 months in
time
now.
of year. Of course, Kay could raise that in a month, being the incumbent governor. So she's probably not worried if she decides to run.
Let us not forget that she can also loan herself $1 million like she did when she was treasurer.
Well, she did that once before. Yes, she did. But and she's actually frozen a lot of the fundraising ability of other candidates, because when they go see a donor, they say, well, I'm waiting to see what Kay does.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to give money against an incumbent who they consider to be friendly. So.
Well, and you know, we don't know.
No.
We don't know. Hopefully we'll know soon, at least by Labor Day, to be able. It's Labor Day, right? That's when everything kicks off.
Yeah, kind of. Traditionally, it does. You know, I'm interested in this Tommy Battle thing because I always said in the back of my mind I thought he was a dark horse. Of course, you know, people say, "Oh, well, he's a dark horse," until we point out that he's a tax and spend liberal. You know. I'm not sure that's gonna.
You look at Huntsville. I don't think you can paint him a taxes.
Well, I know. I'm just telling you what other campaign operatives
Yeah.
have said to me.
It's tough to knock Huntsville at this point. It really is.
Yeah,
I mean, you look around the state.
And don't forget, Alabamians like dark horses in races.
Well, I think you know if you put Huntsville's progress up against Birmingham, Montgomery, you know, Mobile. I mean, Josh is no comparison.
No, there's really not. I mean, you look at Huntsville is when anybody talks at this point about the state of Alabama, the one thing they go, well, Alabama's in bad shape, except for Huntsville. You know, I mean, that's the exception to every rule there. You know, the schools, the businesses, the amount of, you know, jobs that have been created there in the past few years. It's just, it stands out almost different from everything else that's gone on everywhere else in the state.
And it's not just the space program that there's there anymore. I mean, the industry there is growing and booming.
Yeah. Sure. Well, and that, you know, listen, it doesn't happen without leadership.
No.
Right.
And you know, the only guy up in Madison County that gives me heartburn right now is Mike Ball, and why he's still ethics chair, Jack, we don't know.
I don't even want to get into that.
But, you know, Tommy Battle does a good job. Mac McCutcheon,
I mean, it's going to depend on whether Alabamians want a new face or the same old stuff. SOS.
Well, and history tells us they want SOS.
Yeah, I know.
Which also has other meanings, too.
Yes, it does.
Help. I want to get to something very interesting. You know, we Josh, you've written a lot about this situation over at the Capri Theater where they will not play the movie about Don Siegelman, what happened to him, and Richard Scrushy. I've not seen the movie, and very few people is playing this weekend in Tuscaloosa. Very few people have seen it. We're going to sponsor it and show it, and we should be able to announce dates by next week or so. But we have heard a couple of things in there that Jack Abramoff, the big-time lobbyist for the Choctaw who went to prison for his misdeeds, makes a confession, one that he made in his book and one that he made to you, that seemed like they helped Bingo Bob.
Yeah, they helped Bingo Bob quite a bit, and you know, he was working on behalf of the Choctaws over in Mississippi, and Bob Riley was over here as governor at that time, and so they were trying to figure out a way to stifle the casino growth and gambling growth in general here in this state to help out their casinos over there, and they weren't just doing it in Alabama; they were doing it all over. But one of the ways they were going about it is they were funneling money into different campaigns to kind of help, you know, stifle a lot of that legislation that was going down, and he kicked a lot over to Riley and those guys. He told me that. He apparently makes the same claim in this film, and you know, and it's been in the book. I believe it's a movie, Casino Jack, about him, and you know, they just pilfered the poor Indians over there, and we're doing it. And as he was working, keep in mind, I had a former Riley staffer with him there in Scanlon, Michael Scanlon. And so, you know, all of that stuff started to ring true. I called him back when I was working on the gambling series that I did, and talked to him. I talked to him through email a lot, and he basically said, yeah, I mean, we did most of that. He said, that's our scheme, man. That's exactly what we would have done.
So when Bob Riley discovered that Victoryland, after 7 years or so, and you know, hundreds of millions of dollars, discovered that they were operating illegally, he might have owed a favor to
and let's
the
don't
Choctaw.
forget,
13 million or so favors.
Who helped him find that?
You mean Kay Ivey's chief legal counsel?
That'd be him.
Brian Taylor, Mr. Ever Ready, Jack. Well, Jack, what you got planned for the weekend?
Not to talk about all this stuff.
Yeah?
Yeah, I try not to.
Well, you beat the rest of us because that's all we talk about.
My phone burns up.
I know.
We can't get away from it, but it's all fun.
No,
It's kind of fun.
Josh, plans?
Yeah, I'm going to try to do a little fishing.
All right.
Yeah, you know, or nothing.
Or nothing.
Or nothing.
It's kind
Either
of
way.
the same thing.
Sometimes those things work out to be the same thing.
Well, Susan, what are you going to do?
I'm going back to the farm.
You want to hang out with the boss?
I am.
Oh, well, who is he?
Yeah. I don't know, but I've been told.
Yeah. Well, thank y'all for joining us. We want to thank you for watching. You watch us because we watch them.